Welcome everyone to Dead Talk Live. I'm your host Viz from Walking Dead Now. Want to welcome all of our viewers tonight. Happy Friday to everybody. If you're visiting us for the first time and want more information about our show, please visit our website at deadtalklive.com. Also, if you haven't already done so, please visit our YouTube channel, which is called Walking Dead Now, and please subscribe. If you're on YouTube right now, please go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. How is everyone doing tonight? Welcome, Diana. Saz is going to be moderating tonight. Marie and Andrew are going to also be monitoring YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So, Negan and Lucille is joining us on YouTube. Let's scroll over to the Instagram side. Lots of people. Kiku is joining us. Shaham. Raquel is with us. Fabian. Welcome. AZ Gamer. Our regulars joining us. Guys, not ready yet for phone calls, so just hang on a second. Want to get through the introductions and say hello to everybody. Hello to Janie Joe, who's also with us on Instagram. Hello, you're on Dead Talk Live with Viz. Oh, we lost him. Okay, so much for that. Luncho, welcome on Instagram. CC Wheezy is joining us. Jesse, Latano, German 2123, Daniel is with us. P-Dog 867. Give me a second. I'll take care of this real quick. There we go. That's not going to happen again. P-Dog on Instagram says, stop calling. Going back over to YouTube, we have Xanders with us. Welcome, Xanders. We have Emmy on Facebook. Elu is with us on Facebook. Maria. Justin is with us on YouTube. Liz is also with us on YouTube. Brian, who called us yesterday. Great phone call. Welcome back, Brian. Emmy, Facebook. Just scrolling down the list here. Junior James is with us on YouTube. RC Gamer King is also with us, as is Justin. Justin says, hello, I love this show. Thank you, Justin. We are very honored to have you with us. Zachary has joined us on Instagram, as has Evelyn Elizabeth 08. So guys, reminder, this coming Friday, a week from today, August 28th, Michael Satrazemis is going to be our very, very special guest. And, before any guest comes on this show, I do my research, start getting ready for the interview. And last night, I started putting together the questions for Michael. And I'm just fascinated by what this man has done and achieved in The Walking Dead. Let me just give you some highlights, okay? First of all, he's been with The Walking Dead since the beginning, the very, very beginning. Started out as a camera operator, okay? To where he is now as co-executive producer of Fear the Walking Dead. But along the way, let me just briefly share some highlights, okay? His first episode that he directed on The Walking Dead was The Grove. That is the epic, infamous episode where Carol has to put down Lizzie. The Look at the Flowers episode. That was his directorial debut. I mean, wow. Okay? He has directed the mid-season finales for season 6, 7, 8, and 9 of The Walking Dead, as well as the mid-season premiere of this current season 10. Okay? We all know that Greg Nicotero likes to direct premieres and finales. But, I wonder if Michael and Greg just duke it out on who gets to direct it, if they do a flip of a coin or what. But I loved the mid-season finale of season 9 That, to me, is one of the scariest episodes of The Walking Dead. That is the episode where we lost Jesus, where we get introduced to the Whisperers. And if you remember the cinematography in that episode with the fog and the faint echoes of the whispers in the background in the cemetery, talk about creepy. That episode has been compared to the original The Fog, which is a John Carpenter excellent movie. Right now, like I said, he is the current executive producer of Fear the Walking Dead. He also directs episodes of Fear the Walking Dead. In fact, he directed the season premiere of this new upcoming season of Fear the Walking Dead. He directed season 6, episode 1, which is going to premiere on October 11th. And while being co-executive producer of Fear, while directing Fear, he's also still currently directing the Walking Dead episodes. I mean, and I'm trying to get an hour's worth of questions in for this man. And I'm like, man, I came up with all these questions, which I know we're not going to have enough time to ask in an hour show. And then, of course, I invited all you guys as well to submit your text questions, your video questions for Michael. This is someone, like I said, who's been with the show from the beginning to the present day and on into Fear as well. So he has seen everyone come, seen a lot of people go throughout the years, and I would not be surprised in the slightest bit if one day he actually becomes the showrunner for The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead or another spin-off, because the trajectory of his career is just going whoop, straight up. Very excited to have him with us. I can't explain how excited I am to have Michael be with us this coming Friday. So let's see what's going on in the chats. Let's see. Diana says, she's talking to Andrew, who is joining us. Let's see. Xanders writes, damn, dude has put some major work in. That's what gets me. He is working on, like, co-executive producer, directing Fear, and he's still directing The Walking Dead. And they're not both shot in Georgia. Fear is shot in Texas, and The Walking Dead is shot in Georgia. So, yeah, he's a well-traveled man, and I don't know how he does it. So can't wait to find out some of the questions that I have prepared for him this coming Friday. It's going to be an awesome show. I hope you guys join us. Mary is with us on Facebook. Jack Wendell says, Kate, remember that one? Look at the flowers. Negan and Lucille on YouTube writes, yep, I rewatched The Grove yesterday. One of my favorite episodes ever. He also directed, remember that fateful episode when Jesus brings the group to the hilltop and they're trying to negotiate with Gregory, and that's when the whole Negan savior thing is brought up in Gregory's office, and Rick makes the fateful decision, the worst decision of his character's arc, to take out the saviors for Gregory in exchange for food and supplies. He directed that episode as well. Yep, that was him. The mid-season 8 finale, that's the one where Carl got bit. He directed that. I mean, yeah, it's going to be epic, to say the least. Epic. So please tune in on Friday. Let's see. Xanders writes, that's crazy. He must have clones. I don't know. Yep. Brian writes, yep, the name of the episode is called Knots on Tie. Yes, you are absolutely correct, Brian. Justin writes, what happened to Maggie? Maggie's coming back in this next episode. We're going to find out where she's been once she comes back. Musie's Modern Dreadful is with us on YouTube. Says, I'd love Lenny James as a guest to see if he wishes to be on the original show again or the movies. That would be an interesting question. Let's see. Switching over to Instagram. Lots of waves from the Instagram family. Faley's giving us smiley love faces. Julie Jackson writes, just want to thank you guys, are all awesome, and thank you for everything, the joy and the tears and the entertainment. Bless you all. Thank you so much, Julie, for joining us. Let's see, just scrolling up. Sorry, just reading through the thing. She Loez writes, am I accepting calls? I had to turn off Skype because it seems some people want to play prank calls right now, and I'm going to squash that shit. One thing you got to remember, me by guys, I will shut that shit down, like Negan says. So don't try to mess around because you're going to come out with the short end of the stick on that one. So I'm a nice guy. Remember my motto, show respect and you will be respected. If you don't show respect, well, then you're going to end up hating life a little bit. Justin Yaneth says, thanks. Negan writes, let's see, Anna Ramos is with us on Facebook. Brian H.M. writes, if he lived, do you think Carl would have been recasted after the time skip because he'd be like 23? I don't think so. No. Chandler was old enough at that point where they could have done some makeup work on him to make him look older. Without a doubt, he would not have been recasted. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. Andrew writes, give respect, get respect. Yeah, I don't mess around, guys. I don't mess around. Anyone who wants to come in here and cause trouble, it's your account, so have at it, you're the ones who's going to come out on the short end on that one. So we got our first two synopses of The Walking Dead World Beyond, okay, for season 1, episode 1 and season 1, episode 2. So let me just read you the synopsis for the series premiere of The Walking Dead World Beyond. Which is called Brave. Iris welcomes an enigmatic ally to their community while Hope questions the visitors' motives. A message upends the sisters' worldview, forcing them to decide between the safety of their home and the uncertainty of the world beyond. It is directed by Jordan Vogt Roberts and written by Scott M. Gimple and Matthew Negrete. Episode 2 is called Blaze of Glory. Hope and Iris disagree on the mission. Felix and Huck pursue the group as Felix confronts his past. So those are the two little synopses that we have for World Beyond. World Beyond is premiering just before the season finale of The Walking Dead on October 4th. So I'm assuming The Walking Dead is going to be on at 9 p.m. World Beyond is going to premiere at 8 p.m. Sunday night, October 4th. I'm very much looking forward to that. And, we just have to wait. It's coming. It's coming quick. August is almost over. September is around the corner. So what? In another 6-7 weeks, we're going to be getting it, guys. It'll be on us before you guys even realize it. Time is flying by. Epic Zombie Killer is with us on YouTube, asking how are you guys doing today. Doing pretty good. Epic Zombie Killer, thank you for joining us. So, some other news. Season 6 of Fear the Walking Dead could be a big one for John Dory. The article goes on to write, the one thing in particular that stands out within all the teasers is that John Dory is in multiple locations. Most of all the other characters seem to be trapped or tied to one area. So what exactly does Virginia have him doing that allows him to be in so many different places? The new teaser also shows us Walker feet. Wait, the new teaser also shows us Walker feet in the sand. Will John Dory land somewhere near a coast in his travels? So as we've said before, the group on Fear the Walking Dead is all split up. This upcoming season of Fear is really going to be focusing on the individual characters rather than them as a group, because they are splintered, they are separated. So anyway, we'll see what happens. Xanders writes, I can't wait to be talking about the current episodes. Lindsay Sparks on Facebook writes, October can't come any sooner. And like I stated, guys, once these shows start airing again, we are not going to be doing live shows on Sundays. We're going to stop doing live shows for obvious reasons. It's going to be Walking Dead Sundays. And then every Monday, starting with on October 5th, which, by the way, we all decided we are going to make the transition on October 5th to our second season of Dead Talk Live. We can't, infinitely go with season one. At some point, we do have to kind of split it up. And since we are going to be taking the day off during our live broadcast on October 4th, so we can all watch and enjoy The Walking Dead and The Walking Dead World Beyond, that Monday, October 5th, will be the season premiere of Dead Talk Live. And we are working on getting a special guest to be with us that Monday, October 5th, to break down the Walking Dead finale. And the way I'm envisioning it happening, Monday we will talk about the Walking Dead finale, we'll break it down. And then the next day, Tuesday, October 6th, we will be breaking down the premiere of World Beyond. So that's how we're going to kick off our second season on Dead Talk Live here. So stay tuned for that. Judith Yaneth writes, who do you think would be on The Walking Dead? Don't understand the question there, Justin. Wayne on YouTube writes, yeah. Don't worry, we take care of it. We take care of it after the show. So, in an Instagram interview with Tommy DeCario, Chandler Riggs did an interview responding to a fan asking if he would consider returning to the character of Carl Grimes. And Chandler, responded with, absolutely, it's been a lot of fun. He added, I don't really see it happening in any current medium of the show, but maybe, hopefully, in something else. Discussing his history on the show, the actor explained why the fourth season of The Walking Dead stood out as one of the most influential for Carl, and it was. Season 4 is the season that I would say Carl did his most maturing on The Walking Dead. He goes on to say, I think season 4 showed the biggest growth from Carl from start to end, and it was the first time that I feel like they let Carl blossom into his own character. From the end of season 3 to the start of season 5, all of that in between, they let Carl grow into his own character outside of just being the kid. So, absolutely. Brian on YouTube writes, Carl also pudding. That was season 4. Him eating the pudding on top of that roof. Rick was, he was unconscious on the couch. And if you guys remember that epic scene, Carl was like sleeping or keeping an eye on his dad we didn't know. He didn't know if his dad was going to live or die. And Rick starts to regain consciousness. He could not utter a word out. He like rolls off the couch, starts reaching up for Carl. Carl starts thinking like, oh shit, my dad now is a walker. He aims his gun while he's hysterically sobbing at the fact that his dad might be a walker. And then Rick lets out a word. I think he says Carl. And then he's like, my dad's alive. Love that scene. Ann Ocampo. Welcome back, Ann, from the Philippines. Lindsay Sparks writes, yep, I agree. So let me see, just looking over all the different chats. So we're going to get started on our base topic. We had so much news and announcements to cover last night that we never got to our base topic, and that's about Carl Grimes. And we have a lot to discuss. We have a lot to go over. It's basically about Carl's relationships. The evolution of Carl Grimes and his relationships to Rick Grimes, his dad, Enid, Michonne, Carol, Negan, and on and on and on. What Carl was like when he first started on the show. He was his character was 8 years old, and how he develops as the series progresses. We're also going to talk about his relationships with other characters, namely, like I said, Rick, Michonne, Enid, Carol, and of course Negan. Negan played a profound effect on Carl. When we first saw Carl, he was between 8 or 10, I would say more to 8. But in the comics, he's a little bit younger than that, than what we saw on the TV show. It was revealed in issue 5 of the comic books that he was 7. So not that big of a difference, 7 to 10, doesn't really matter. Going back to the TV show, we're going to take a look at some of the things he's had to go through and the horrible things he's seen from season 1 right up to season 8 where we lost him. Okay, so let's just start with season 1, okay? And I'm going to reopen the phone lines. And the first prank call I get, remember guys, I have caller ID. So you guys want to roll the dice with your phones? Try it. You guys try it. But I've got caller ID. Anyway, so I'm opening up the phone lines. Please, all legitimate people, if you want to give us a call, the number is 718-509. There, okay, you know what? I can actually really quickly take care of that. It's the same number, guys. Yeah. You remember what I said? I'm going to squash that shit? Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to put that... Bear with me here, guys. Somebody wants to be a wise ass. First of all... Yeah. Remember what I said? I don't put up with that? Yeah, that's step number 1. And here we go. Step number 2. Done. Okay. That won't happen again. So, guys, feel free to call the number 718-509-9270 if you're inside the United States. If you're outside the United States, please use Skype. Open up your Skype app, look for our name, which is Walking Dead Now, and add us to your favorites. If you're outside the U.S., use Skype, and it's a free Skype-to-Skype call. Thank you for your patience while I took care of that phone issue. I appreciate that. Some people just don't believe it when I say don't do it, but they are just going to find out the hard way. So, season 1, okay? And I think we can all agree that Carl maintains a lot of his childhood innocence, attributes, and behaviors. We see him getting pretty excited when Shane takes him out to the quarry and teaches him how to catch frogs. Just like a typical boy his age, he's out there having fun. Then in season 2, we start to see him trying to help out. If you guys remember, in season 2, when they're on the highway searching for anything useful from those abandoned cars, Carl finds a bag of tools in one of those cars, that he wanted to give to Dale. He was proud of that. Okay, so like I said, we see his innocence still, wanting to please the adult figures in his life. Oh, we do have a legitimate call. Hello, you're on Dead Talk Live. What's your name?
Hey Viz, it's Andrew.
Andrew, nice to hear from you, Andrew. What's up?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. So what's on your mind, Andrew?
Well, I just wanted to touch on what you were saying about Carl in season 2 and wanting to help out a bit.
Absolutely. Let's hear your thoughts.
I think you're completely right. He did want to call in, he did want to help out because he was, like, as you said, on the highway. He was helping looking through cars, and also back at Herschel's farm, he wanted to try and learn how to shoot.
Yes. And he became a very good shooter.
He did, actually, yes, he did. Very quickly became a very good shot.
Yes, as opposed to Michonne, who could not shoot her way out of a paper bag.
Exactly.
So, very good points about Carl. And, I mean, what else do you want to add to that?
Well, I think in season 2, near the end of season 2, once Dale is killed by the walker that Carl had seen, I think that was the beginning of Carl's evolution, which then he evolved slightly through season 3, and then in season 4 he really did evolve. Totally agree. He maintained his innocence throughout season 1 into season 2, and then Dale, you made a great point. That Dale moment where we lose Dale in season 2 is, you could say, the starting point of where Carl started to transition. He started to transition into, I guess you can say, a man or a young man, whatever you want to call it. He was starting to see the world for what it was. And the rest is history, as they say, from then on out. Exactly, yeah. And also, very shortly after Dale is killed by that walker, Carl also has to put down reanimated Shane.
Yeah, of course. Remember the look on Rick's face when he thought that Carl had the gun on Rick? Let me ask you your opinion on this, Andrew. Do you think that he raised his gun in his dad's direction literally just out of instinct before Shane got up? Or do you think he saw Shane get up right away, and that's the reason why he raised his gun towards his dad's direction?
No, I do think he was pointing at Rick at first, because I think that Carl was just scared after he heard the gunshot and saw Rick and Shane out in the field. I think Carl was just scared in that moment. Yeah,
I mean, he saw his father kill, like Uncle Shane. Let's call him Uncle Shane, you know what I mean? Exactly. And that for a little boy, he's like, how do you comprehend that? How do you make sense of that? You can't. And he just reacted on instinct, and he raised his gun. But like, as we saw very soon afterwards, Shane did reanimate, and the decision for him was very clear at that point, what he had to do.
Yeah, you're definitely right.
So anyway, Andrew, thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, no problem. We'll talk again soon. All right, take care. All right, that was Andrew, guys. Always love to hear Andrew's insights on all our topics here. So, like I said, season 2, he finds the tools. We have another caller.
Hello?
Sorry. That was a wrong number. All right. In season 2, later on, when Sophia runs off from those 2 walkers chasing her and disappears into the woods, Carl wants to help. He wants to step up and go with his dad to help find her. This is, of course, when he ends up getting shot by Otis.
Remember the shot that went through the deer and into Carl? He saw a deer and he was having another childlike experience where he's just in awe and amazement at seeing this magnificent animal. And then the next thing you know, he's shot and laying, what we don't know, dead or alive. He's shot and on the ground. And that's where they end the episode. And we have to wait a whole week later to find out what's going on. He wanted to get as close as he could to that deer, but we all know what happens next. I think season 2 is where we do start to see Carl, as Andrew said, go through some of his notable changes. He starts to get bolder, and he has a desire to prove his independence when he insists on joining the others in their gun training exercises, as Andrew mentioned as well. His mother, Laurie, was opposed to the idea at first, and while Rick respected this, he can also see their son is growing up. And he acknowledges that Carl is growing up in a different world to how it was when he was Carl's age. Also, if you remember that scene in the barn when Rick and Carl were, having that father-son talk, up in the loft of the barn, and Rick says to Carl, "No more kid stuff. I wish you could have had the childhood I had, but that's not going to happen." Now, this talk they had happened sometime after Dale died. Carl blamed himself because, if you can recall, the walker who attacked Dale was the same one he had teased earlier in the woods and did not kill. And that walker is the one that came back and ended up taking out Dale. So he probably did harbor some sense of guilt for that. And I think we lost the YouTube chats. So let me go ahead and open up the broadcast so I can see what the YouTube people are saying. YouTube has still not fixed this issue, and it's been going on for such a long time. Kat is with us. Gypsy Road is also with us. Welcome to Kat and Gypsy. Kimmy is also with us, saying Laurie was my least favorite. Definitely do not think you're alone on that one, Kimmy. Kat also says, Andrew, yes, I know what you mean. I hated how she didn't support Rick when he needed her the most. So, yeah, absolutely. Let's go back to the talking points here. Carl was exposed to a lot of dark events in season 2. He saw Sophia coming out of that barn as a walker, and it was his dad that had to put Sophia down. If you remember that scene, we remember Sophia, we remember Carol rushing the barn where Daryl had to stop her, and we also, if you guys remember in the background, we could see Laurie trying to comfort a very hysterical Carl, because him and Sophia were friends, and he's literally seeing his friend walk out of that barn as a zombie. Again, I mean, I don't even know where to begin to put yourself in an 8-9-year-old's mind in the post-apocalyptic zombie world and seeing your friend coming out of a barn dead as a zombie. I don't even know where to begin with that, Carl also wanted to watch Randall, remember Randall, get executed, and even egged his father to do it. He egged on Rick to do it. This is where we also get to see him have some attitude towards Carol, which got her very upset. Season 2 Carol was still mousy, quiet, timid Carol. It wasn't until season 3 where Carol really started to go through her changes into the badass that we have today. So basically, what are your thoughts on that, guys? Why do you think Carl was, giving attitude at the time that she was grieving for Sophia? As a kid, 9, 10, however old he was at the time, why would he do that? Doesn't make much sense. We don't get to see much of Carl and Carol interacting in the later seasons, but they didn't have a great relationship during this time. And if you go through the whole arc, and if you really pay attention to Carl's relationship with Carol, is there any moment that you guys can recall that was a heartwarming moment or a serious discussion or a motherly to adopted son kind of talk that happened between Carl and Carol? It just didn't happen. Those two just never mixed, never interacted. And you gotta wonder why that is. Was it because Carol held an indefinite grudge against Carl for what he did as a 9 or 10-year-old boy? I don't think so. Okay? She was an adult. He was a kid. I'm pretty sure she brushed it off as a kid, just mouthing off. So I have no explanation for that. I don't remember why those two, the relationship between Carl and Carol, never materialized into anything. All right? I mean, obviously, yeah, Carl and his dad, Carl and Daryl, somewhat. But, Herschel, he was very close with Herschel. Remember, Herschel witnessed him putting down that kid who was putting down his weapon that Carl had to drop on with his gun. And as he was putting down his weapon, Carl shot him. And that really upset Herschel. And Herschel told Rick about it as well. So, I don't know, guys. Lindsay Spark writes, yep, I remember that scene. Lindsay also says Carl getting shot was shocking. It was. We didn't see that coming. Let's see. Brian on YouTube writes, at the prison gate, talking about Laurie and Carl's guilt. Devana is with us on YouTube. Welcome, Devana. Says, I think Carl was so confused with his feelings. Devana also says, and I believe he blamed her there for a little bit for Sophia's death and not being able to protect her. Excellent point, Devana, in regards to Carl and Carol's relationship. That's an excellent point. Brian also writes on YouTube, Carl and Maggie only seen together was probably Laurie's death. That's the most significant scene that comes into my mind as well. Gypsy writes, Carl getting shot wasn't surprising because he got shot in the comics. Yeah, he did get shot in the comics as well. Justin on YouTube writes, I think Carl had seen a little too much for a boy his age, without a doubt. That's not even questionable. Without a doubt, he saw stuff that no kid should have to see at his age. So let's move on to some other interesting points that we have. We get to see Carl kill his first walker, and it was none other than Shane, as we already said, when he turned after Rick killed him. At this point, Carl probably still doesn't know what's going on between his father, Shane, and his mom. Why would he? So that's why he's completely lost and confused as to why his dad just killed Uncle Shane. When we get to season 3, there's a time jump of about 8 months, judging on how pregnant Laurie looks. We definitely see some changes in Carl. His shooting skills have improved dramatically. He's more confident around people and seems to have matured quite a bit. His relationship with his mother seems a bit strained, and you wonder what has been going on in those missing months between season 2 and season 3. What has transpired between them that he's starting to hold a grudge against his mom? Carl had to help Maggie deliver Judith, and of course put his mom down from preventing her from turning into a walker. Very sad. That was a gut-wrenching moment, and it affected Carl. It would affect anybody, let alone a preteen kid or very young teenager. All the way to an adult. Having to kill your own mother, yeah, that will seriously mess you up. He gets very serious and doesn't talk much unless he has to. Now, when Michonne joins the group, now that is the character that Carl, even you could say more than his dad, him and Michonne, Carl and Michonne had an awesome relationship from the very beginning. They liked each other. They respected each other. He saw her. He started to see her, not right away, but as time went on, I have no doubt that he started to see Michonne as his adopted mom / best friend, without a doubt. So when Michonne joins the group and she ends up going with Rick and Carl to King County, which is Rick's hometown, to find more weapons in their preparation to fight the governor, Carl tries to get away on his own. Michonne insists on following him, much to his annoyance. He couldn't stand Michonne right at the very beginning. That didn't last very long, though. Carl and Michonne end up at that cafe. Remember that cafe, guys, in the episode Clear, where we see Morgan again, all insane, and Carl wants to go into this cafe. Michonne doesn't understand why it's so important for him to go into this freaking cafe. She later finds out why. It's so he can retrieve the only picture that is left of his mom, Carl, Rick, so he can show to his sister Judith when she's born. You've got another caller. Hey, you're on Dead Talk Live. What's your name?
It's Summer. Hey, Viz.
Hey, Summer. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
So what's on your mind, Summer?
How you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Well, I heard you say Michonne, so you know I had to call in.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, what'd you think of Carl we know what you think of Rick and Michonne. What'd you think of Carl and Michonne's relationship?
I absolutely love their relationship, and I
Me
love
too.
how at first he didn't trust her, but then in the episode Clear, he was able to trust her. But what I want to talk about is after the prison, when they were at Terminus and when they were kind of scoping it out, and Rick asked Carl to go with him, and he said no, and he ended up going off with Michonne, and they ended up having this heart-to-heart. And she was telling him that he didn't have to be afraid of her or his dad. And he started to say that he was a monster too. He felt like he was, there was something, wrong with him. And I kind of wish they would have explored that part of Carl a little bit.
Yep.
But I kind of wonder why he felt like that. Why did he feel like that he was like a monster, like there was something wrong with him?
Yeah.
Do you think it was because of everything that he's seen and everything he's been through? Or do you think, because he did just see his dad, bite that man Joe in his throat, that just happened. And so, I don't know. I just really wish they would have kind of explored that
I
side
agree.
of Carl.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And to answer the question, in my best opinion, it's a combination of the stuff he has seen, the stuff he has had to do, he's experienced. Not only when you bring up Joe, the guy that Rick bit his throat out, and you got to remember while Rick was doing that other guy was getting ready to rape Carl.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so that screwed him up, seeing his dad do what he had to do. And if you remember when the sun came up, when it's Rick and Daryl leaning up the side of the car, and remember Daryl hands Rick a rag so it can clean the blood off his face. And Rick's like,
Yeah.
I don't need that. You remember what Daryl tells Rick? He's like, you don't want him pointing at Carl. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't want Carl to see you like this.
Yeah.
And Rick grabs the rag and cleans the blood off his face. It just shows you that even Rick forgets sometimes how old his son is. And,
Right.
you know, and it was Daryl that had to remind him, hey, you know, that's your kid in the backseat of that car. You don't want him seeing you like this. So, excellent point. And I would have liked to seen that conversation where he does explain to Michonne how he feels like a monster. We can come up with our own assumptions like we just did. Or I would have liked to have, you know, like you, have him express which particular events that he had to go through that made him feel like he was a monster.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
'Cause he was saying he was having those thoughts, and I was wondering, like, what is the thought? Does he feel so bad because he, like, what if he would have shot Rick? Because just think about it. He shot his mom. I mean, I don't even think that she was dead. She just passed out, and, you know, he shot her.
Yeah, she was
So,
not
what
dead.
if
She
he-
was not dead, yeah.
Yeah. So what if he went ahead and did Rick that way? You know, that just would have been a whole different story. So I'm glad he didn't, but I'm just, every
Yeah.
time I see that scene, I think about that, how easy or how he could have just shot him thinking it was another situation like his mom.
Exactly. And you know, Summer, the one silver lining that maybe we can look at when we lost Carl is at the time that we lost Carl, I think we can all agree that his relationship with his father, Rick, has stabilized and was rock solid strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
They were not only father and son, they had a huge, deep respect for one another. They loved each other. And they were also friends. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Rick respected him as like a peer, but he also knew that he was his son. And the same thing reversed for Carl and Rick. He loved his dad, but he saw him also as a peer. And I just love that moment after the prison fell and Rick is unconscious on that couch when they found some refuge in an abandoned house. And he laid Rick on the couch while he's trying to nurse him back to health. And Carl is talking to his unconscious dad, telling him, hey, I saved you. You know, I did it. I saved you. Like he's trying to get his dad to recognize him. He's like telling Rick, hey, look at me. Okay, look how much I've grown. Look how far I've come. Okay, notice me. You know I'm your son, but kind of put that aside for a second and just look at what I have achieved. I saved you. I saved you from dying. You know, how do you feel about that?
Wow.
I mean, that's some strong stuff right there, ain't it?
It really is. It really is.
Yeah. It's just
I love that whole dialogue when he's talking to his dad.
Exactly.
I love that. And his dad is not even, it's like conscious, but he's,
No.
I mean, that whole monologue, I mean, that was amazing.
Exactly. It was. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Summer. And we will be talking to you very soon.
Hello to my Walking Dead family, Walking Dead Now family.
Oh, and I just want to tell you, thank your husband so much for calling in. It was really great to hear from him.
Okay, Luke just says thank you for calling in. It was great to hear, and he gives you a thumbs up.
All right. Tell Luke he's my bud. All right. I'll talk to you.
Sure will.
I'll talk to you guys later. All right.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. So there you guys have it. That was Summer. So we're getting close on time, but we still have a lot of points to go through. So now let's go to the point where Carl finds out that Rick and Michonne slept together, the way he found out. And the way he found out is by seeing this stranger who we now know is Jesus, sitting on his the steps of his house, and Carl points a gun at him, and Jesus says, "I'm just waiting for your mom and dad to get dressed." And as soon as Carl hears the word mom, he's like, "What?" And then he sees Rick and Michonne coming out of the room getting dressed. So that was a little bit of an awkward moment. But to him, Michonne had become a part of their family for a while, so it wasn't a big deal. In fact, I believe he was happy for his dad. I believe he was happy that his dad found someone. In his final moments before Carl had to put himself down because he didn't want to leave it up to his dad or Michonne because he knew it would be so hard and they probably wouldn't be able to do it anyways. He tells Michonne, quote, you're my best friend. And that's just another heartwarming moment right there. Just before he puts himself down, he says, "You're my best friend." I love that scene. I'm just switching over to YouTube to see what you guys are saying. Let's see. Andrew writes, that was such an awkward scene when Jesus said to Carl, "Just waiting for your mom and dad to get dressed." Kat writes, I love the way Carl found out. Hilarious. Brian writes, Rick upgraded. Eric Tuber on YouTube writes, I have sure Carl was very excited to that scene. He was happy for his dad and for Michonne. I think he was kind of rooting for those two to get together. Moosey's Modern on YouTube writes, agree, he was happy for his dad and Michonne. So no doubt about that, and no one seems to dispute that in any other way than besides that him just being really happy for his father and for Michonne. So let's see what else we got. Okay, looking at the father-son relationship between Rick and Carl again. Carl had always admired him as a child, but when they left the prison after the battle with the governor and he had to go through that whole thing of protecting his dad, that was another momentous moment and a stepping stone for Carl. He got the yelling out of his system like me and Summer just spoke about while his dad was unconscious. So let's touch on another important relationship before we run out of time, and that's Carl and Enid. Carl meets Enid in Alexandria. They don't have a very good start to their friendship, but with Carl's persistence and the fact that they both felt they didn't fit in with the other kids, Enid started to loosen up, and the two of them became friends then as they shared a kiss. It's Carl's first kiss. We get to see them roller skating, having some lighter moments together. And just like any kids their age, they were just having some fun. I think Enid brought back some of that innocence that Carl had lost. And the same thing reverse. Carl helped Enid bring out, I don't know what the right word is, bring back some of her innocence as well. Can anyone remember that last scene they were in together? It was I believe it was the scene where they actually kissed. And we knew later on, I believe in this current season 10 or 9, where Enid is explaining to Henry, this is season 9, where Enid is talking to Henry about how she lost someone that she cared about very deeply. She was talking about Carl. And this is when Henry was stashing Lydia, and he was trying to convince Henry to bring Lydia back to Hilltop so they can turn her over back to Alpha. And it's revealed at that moment that Enid had some deep feelings for Carl. So that was very interesting. So like I said, Enid and Carl, they met, they had their first kiss. Let's see. And for the final piece, let's talk about Carl's relationship with Negan. I know we said Enid, it was going to be the last one. I skipped over some stuff because his relationship with Negan is equally important.
talk about a weird relationship right there. Carl and Negan. Something about Carl's selfless nature, his bravery and honesty, it struck a chord with Negan. Negan could see Carl was no ordinary kid. He wasn't afraid of dying. He wasn't afraid of Negan. This was a kid who wasn't afraid to lead, and he was a kid any father would be proud of. Negan respected Carl, and he saw him as the future. And this was revealed to us because Negan says that he had plans for Carl. Negan did not have any kids of his own, but would love to have had a son just like Carl. We've talked about how Negan feels about Carl a lot, but, in these last few minutes, share your feelings on the Carl-Negan relationship. Does he see him as a father figure? I don't think so. When the time came where we lost Carl and he was writing those letters, he did not see Negan as a father figure. Negan was still a bad guy. He was still at the stage where he was just pleading in those letters with both Negan and his dad to stop fighting, find a way to get along, and make a peace with each other. Did Negan have a big influence on Carl's evolution? Or is it the other way around? Did Carl influence Negan? The answer to that is yes. Carl did influence Negan more than Negan influenced Carl. And we saw that again in the split seconds before Rick slit Negan's throat. When the Saviors were defeated and Rick was talking to Negan about Carl and what Carl wanted for the future, and then Rick slits his throat, and as Negan thought he was about to die, he tells Rick that Carl didn't know a damn thing. But that got to him. The look on J.D. Morgan's face was excellent. The way Jeffrey Dean Morgan portrayed that scene just before Rick slit his throat was brilliant. And that look he had on his face on hearing Rick talk about Carl, and he was showing his true emotions, I definitely, without any hesitation, believe that Carl had a big influence on Negan. And even to this day on the show, many years after Carl has passed away, it is, out of all the characters that Negan has done wrong by, I believe Carl is front and center in the remorse line for Negan. That's my opinion, guys. And he has not vocalized this. He has not said it in any way, shape, or form. But I really do believe that Negan thinks about Carl very often on the show. And wishes, of course, that he wasn't dead. And wishes he would have handled things differently. Because we now know that Negan has done a complete 180. And he realizes the decisions he made, the person he was, the person he felt he thought he had to become, he was wrong. He was completely wrong. Kat writes, I think Carl can see Negan could be a better person. Brian writes, what about the time he almost Lucille'd him? You're right. That can't be forgotten, Brian. But as time went on, that was the mid-season of season 7. Was it the season finale of season 7? I'm not sure. I think it was the season finale. He started to see him different. He didn't want to kill Carl. He would have. He would have absolutely killed him because Negan did have to maintain his reputation with his saviors. He didn't want to kill him. He was sort of almost begging Rick to submit again. Rick would not do it. And even though he would have hated doing it, he would have killed Carl. He would have hated doing it, but he would have done it. I have no doubt about that. And that's when Shiva jumps in
and saves Carl's ass. Dylan on YouTube writes, I was so shocked when Carl was shot in the eye, as a lot of us were as well. Jaden on Instagram writes, as a Walking Dead comic book fan, if Carl didn't die, how would his relationship with Lydia change the show, or would it at all? Ooh, that's a complicated question. And we're out of time to get into that tonight. Maybe we can pick that up again tomorrow. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in tonight. Thank you for everyone who participated. Please visit our website at deadtalklive.com for more information about our show. Guys, get your questions in for Michael. Visit our website, scroll all the way to the bottom. We have a submission form. You could send in video questions of yourself asking the question to Michael Satrazemis, or you can send in a regular text question using the same submission form. But he's been with The Walking Dead from the beginning, and if you want any kind of information, he's the person you want to ask. So please go ahead and submit your questions on our website. Please visit us on YouTube. Our channel is called Walking Dead Now, and go ahead and subscribe. To all our viewers who are watching now on YouTube, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button on this broadcast. Visit us on IMDb and please rate our show. Just go to IMDb and look up Dead Talk Live. Till tomorrow night, guys, remember, stay walking.